The bright lights illuminated the debate stage as Jasmine Crockett stood tall in her striking purple suit, her shoulders squared and her expression sharp. The nationally televised education forum had been moving smoothly until a few minutes earlier, when Youngkin suddenly veered off script with a direct attack on her education reform proposal. "Crockett's plan is nothing but empty promises and budget nightmares," he declared, his voice echoing across the auditorium. "It will bankrupt our states while indoctrinating our children with radical ideas." The audience gasped at the aggression. Some applauded, others whispered in disapproval. Social media was already ablaze with hashtags and hot takes. The moderator looked uneasy, clearly caught off guard. Crockett, however, didn't flinch. Her eyes locked on Youngkin, a small smile tugging at the corner of her lips. This wasn't just an attack. It was an opening. She had spent months crafting her education plan, consulting with parents, teachers, and economists. She knew every number, every criticism, every counterpoint. Youngkin clearly thought his experience and forceful rhetoric would overwhelm her. But he had miscalculated. The moderator finally turned to her. "Representative Crockett, would you like to respond?" As she stepped to the microphone, the room fell silent. Everyone knew what was coming could change the course of the night. Youngkin stood confidently in his tailored navy suit, silver hair gleaming under the lights. At 56, he had built a reputation as a straight-talking outsider who simplified complex issues into sharp sound bites. Holding a copy of her plan, he repeated his charge. "A 32% increase in federal spending, money from taxpayers' pockets when families are already struggling. Her plan would gut essential services to fund dangerous social engineering." He waved the printed proposal before the cameras, emphasizing curriculum changes he claimed would push an agenda into classrooms. Supporters cheered. Education had always been his political foundation, and he knew how to strike fear in parents. Across the stage, Crockett jotted notes but never broke her focus. At 43, the former civil rights attorney had lived through the failures of underfunded schools. She had built her plan not from theory, but from first-hand experience. Schools crumbling, parents begging for resources, teachers buying supplies from their own pockets. The moderator pressed again. "Representative, Mr. Youngkin has raised serious concerns. How do you respond?" Crockett nodded as her assistant slid a tablet to her podium. She tapped the screen, and the stage backdrop lit up with her funding breakdown. "Thank you for that critique, Mr. Youngkin," she began, her tone calm but firm. "I share your concern for taxpayers. What I don't share is your math. That 32% figure, it ignores three things. First, it's spread over 8 years. Second, 40% comes from redirecting wasteful programs, not new taxes. Third, private sector. Matching already committed covers a significant share." Murmurs rippled through the audience. She swiped to another slide. "And since you brought up numbers, let's talk return on investment. Independent studies show every dollar in early education returns 7 to 12 in reduced incarceration, remedial costs, and increased lifetime earnings." The murmurs grew louder. She was reframing cost as payoff. "As for your so-called mandatory cultural curriculum changes," she added with air quotes, "are you objecting to financial literacy? To expanded STEM? Or to history lessons that finally reflect all Americans' contributions?" Youngkin tried to interject. "The issue is federal overreach. Page 47, Crockett shot back, explicitly preserves local control. Nothing is mandated without school board approval. Have you read page 47, Mr. Youngkin?" The silence that followed was devastating. She stepped forward, iPad in hand. "I've met the families you invoke. Single parents working 2 jobs, children studying under leaky roofs, rural students with no access to advanced courses. For them, this isn't abstract, it's reality. They deserve more than slogans." Applause burst from parts of the crowd. Social media exploded with clips labeled "Crockett Responds." Youngkin straightened his tie, leaning back on his reliable themes. "Do you want Washington deciding what your children learn? Do you want taxes funding experimental theories? Or do you want common sense that reflects parents' values? It was his safe ground until Crockett tapped her tablet again. The main screen filled with a video. It was Youngkin, 3 years earlier, praising the very policies he was now attacking. The return on investment in early education is undeniable. Our children deserve to learn the full scope of American history and culture. Gasps filled the room. That was you, Mr. Youngkin, Crockett said evenly. So what changed? Research, needs of children, or just political convenience? His face reddened. That clip is out of context. It's your full answer, she replied. I'll happily play all 20 minutes if you'd prefer. The owl. Moderator tried to pivot, but Crockett pressed. This is about credibility. You criticize the very elements you once supported. That's not policy, that's politics. Youngkin stumbled into an explanation about evolving views and citing failed state experiments. But Crockett was ready again, displaying his own social media posts praising those same initiatives. She layered contradiction upon contradiction, showing not just one reversal, but a pattern. Then she pivoted back to her own plan. My proposal wasn't written in a consultant's office. It came from classrooms, community centers, and conversations with teachers and parents. Employers themselves are demanding digital literacy, critical thinking, and cultural competence. These aren't fantasies. They're job skills. A slide lit up with endorsements from the Chamber of Commerce and other business groups. Cameras caught a tech CEO in the audience nodding vigorously. And about those taxes, she continued, our funding comes from consolidating 17 inefficient programs and a modest corporate tax reset. Not a dime of property tax increases. Meanwhile, Mr. Youngkin's plan keeps 7 redundant bureaucracies, costing $4.3 billion annually. The moderator stayed silent, sensing a moment. Crockett pressed harder. And on federal control, current law has 142 compliance requirements. My plan cuts it to 29, giving states unprecedented flexibility. His increases oversight in 11 areas. Facts matter. Even some of Youngkin's supporters in the crowd looked shaken. This isn't left or right, Crockett concluded. It's effective versus wasteful. Education is too important for games. Our children are our greatest asset, and unlike outdated rhetoric, investing in them always pays dividends. Applause thundered, crossing party lines. A veteran journalist whispered, I've never seen anyone come this prepared. When pressed again, Youngkin fell back on broad philosophy, but the damage was done. Crockett interrupted once more. That's a false choice. My plan explicitly expands parental input. Pages 86 through 112. Again, have you actually read it? Silence. Everyone in the room knew who had won. By the time the debate ended, clips of Crockett's dismantling of Youngkin's arguments were flooding social media. Hashtags like Crockett receipts trended nationwide. Teachers posted emotional messages, many saying they finally felt heard. Teachers for Crockett became a viral movement overnight. Meanwhile, Youngkin's campaign scrambled. Internal memos leaked describing the fallout as severe, complete defensive posture required. His attempt at damage control fell flat as reporters hammered him on his contradictions. Polling within 24 hours showed 64% of viewers believed Crockett made the stronger case, including nearly a third of previous Youngkin supporters. More strikingly, 72% of respondents said they were more likely to read actual policy documents before deciding their stance. Downloads of Crockett's 400-page plan spiked 2,000%, especially in conservative districts. Major education organizations weighed in. The American Federation of Teachers called her proposal the most comprehensive framework in a generation. The National School Boards Association praised its balance of local control and federal support. Even conservative groups acknowledged its efficiency measures and accountability focus. Within weeks, Journalists were pressing other candidates to meet the Crockett standard of policy depth. School board meetings across the country saw record turnout. Voters demanded specifics instead of sound bites. 6 months later, bipartisan support passed parts of Crockett's plan, including administrative consolidation and rural broadband funding. Even Youngkin admitted sometimes it takes being challenged to reevaluate. She was right about inefficiencies and the need for investment. Analysts called the confrontation a turning point in political discourse. It wasn't just a win for Crockett, it raised public expectations of all politicians. As one strategist put it, talking points don't cut it when your opponent brings facts and receipts. Reflecting a year later, Crockett explained, "That night wasn't about winning an argument, it was about respect. Respect for voters, for the policy process, for our democracy. When leaders assume citizens care about substance, they rise to meet that challenge. And that's how we get better policies and better outcomes for our children." The night Jasmine Crockett came armed with facts didn't just change one debate. It may have changed debates in America for good.